She killed a CEO and 39 bodyguards in a single night, then vanished for 8 years. And when the world's deadliest assassin finally resurfaced, she was broke, drunk, and 18 kilos heavier. This is Nighthawk.
A sweaty, out-of-breath woman slams her hands against a glass door, gasping for air like she just ran a marathon in flip-flops. Some guy watches her wheeze out the words, "Give me, please," like she's about to collapse right there on the store floor. Turns out, her name is Yotaka, and whoever this dude is, he's been looking for her. Back at her apartment, the landlord's already left the eviction notice and he's not sugarcoating it. The walls are stained, so forget about getting that deposit back. The door shuts behind her and she's alone, staring at her phone showing a bank balance of 211 yen. That's roughly $1.50, and the pile of paperwork scattered across her floor isn't making things look any better. The landlord sits her down for a reality check. This isn't a charity, he's got his own bills to worry about. He tells her straight up, if she can't cover 3 months of back rent within 1 month, she's done. Yotaka's kneeling on the floor of her messy apartment, and it's clear she doesn't have a plan. He keeps going, and it only gets worse. The place is filthy, the water's been shut off, and he wants to know how she's even surviving like this. He asks if she feels any shame, and all she can manage is a quiet, sorry, and yeah. Then he hits her with the big one. She's 33, she should be thinking about marriage, and that recharge break she's been on is just unemployment with extra steps. The landlord shows up at her door, asking if she's got a minute, and Yotaka greets him with a tired, "Oh, it's you." He addresses her formally as Ms. Aoi Yotaka and gets right to the point. When is she paying rent? Because it's been 3 months. She apologizes, but it's the kind of apology that's been said too many times to mean anything anymore. Yotaka's sitting in her room, sniffling, and the landlord mutters something about a return of the legend under his breath. He greets her with a flat, "Evening, Yotaka," clearly unimpressed that she's back. When he starts to scold her for having the nerve to show up, she just barges right past him through the door. She spots something and her eyes go wide. "My booze!" she screams, lunging at what turns out to be a beer can that spills all over the futon. The guy standing there watches in disbelief as she mourns her last can of alcohol, like it was a fallen soldier. She sits on the floor lamenting that it was her last one, calling it her life fuel, and blaming his half-assed ambush for the tragedy. The guy stares at her, surrounded by falling feathers, and she tells him to pass along a message to his boss. She likes her current lifestyle just fine. She says she has no intention of going back, and the feathers drifting around her give the whole refusal a weirdly dramatic vibe. He just sits there thinking about how much being a wage slave must suck while she delivers her ultimatum. He tackles her onto the futon and pins her down, and she's holding a knife she clearly just pulled on him. He tells her this is no good, that she almost got his hands dirty again, and not just because he didn't wash them. The scene cuts to show them tangled up on the messy floor of her apartment with the knife still in her hand. She hands him what's left of her food. "Here, Yotaka, you can have the rest." And he stares at it confused. He says he's lost his appetite thanks to her, but takes the bento box anyway before heading out. On his way to the door, he asks if he can dump his cigarette butts, and she just waves him off with a, "Sure, whatever." Yotaka's in peak form now. She proudly shows off a gacha game pull that cost her 40,000 yen, then mixes strong zero with more strong zero and chugs it while laughing. Meanwhile, somewhere else entirely, 2 men in a bathroom are having a very different conversation about her. One says if she's no use to them, she's dead weight, but if another agency picks her up, that's bad for business. So the order comes down. Get rid of her. She flat out refuses with a cheerful nope and a heart symbol, grinning ear to ear while saying she quit because she hated that job. The guy's internal monologue is just, "I swear, I want to slap this woman," as she tells him to take a hint. She adds a strange philosophical note about bonds being like Cooper's ligaments. Once they're severed, they never come back. He lays out the situation for her. Their agency isn't doing great. Rival temp firms are popping up everywhere and poaching workers. The higher-ups want Nighthawk to make a comeback, and they're calling it a return of the legend. He offers her the deal plainly. She gets money, they get their star back, win-win, and he'll support her all the way. He recaps her sad trajectory. She retired, blew all her money on gambling and gacha games, failed at every part-time job she tried, and now she's begging him for lunch. She threatens to cry, and he begs her not to, while looking around at the rent notices piling up in her disaster of an apartment. Then he cuts through all the noise with one simple question. "Yotaka, you need a job, right?" He asks how old she is, and she says 33, and he catches himself staring at something he probably shouldn't be. She demands to know what he was looking at while snatching his hamburger bento right out of his hands, calling it her lunch now. When he tells her to buy her own, she goes off about how convenience store bentos have become a luxury item, too small and way overpriced. 8 years have passed since the last hunt, and he's sitting there smoking, watching this woman who used to be something terrifying. She smokes too, staring out the window with a completely different energy than whatever she used to be. He can't help but wonder, do people really change this much after they quit their job? He walks in and scolds her for not locking her door since she's a woman living alone and it's basic common sense. She couldn't care less, asking why it matters if someone breaks in, and points out he comes over all the time anyway since her place is closer than the park's smoking area. He fires back that she should watch her tone since she's older than him, but internally admits he can't just let some socially inept former hitman rot away in her room forever. Someone calls out, "Hey coach," and tells Yotaka to put down her phone and come join them, but she's glued to her gacha game screen. Her eyes go wide at whatever just popped up on the display, and there's a moment where she looks almost vulnerable. Then the scene shifts to her grabbing something soft and squishy, and whatever serious moment might have existed just evaporated. The narration shifts to a flashback. The next morning after some incident, a man named Hajime Hayashi, president of a temp agency called Maker Staff, was found dead alongside 39 of his bodyguards. The massacre was dubbed the Last Hunt and got buried fast, barely making the morning news cycle. The one responsible, known only as Nighthawk, spread her wings and vanished into the night, never to be seen again. Until now. The scene pulls back to the night of the massacre itself, where bodyguards are rattled by rumors of a hitman in town, the same one who wiped out the entire Tachibana family. One guard tries to play it cool, calling it just an urban legend, while another one on the radio isn't responding anymore. Then a dark figure appears behind him, and whatever he was about to say gets cut very, very short. Yotaka's standing outside in her underwear, beer in hand, belting out that she could be someone's girlfriend at full volume like it's karaoke night. A girl named Takanashi shows up trying to get her attention, only to walk into the apartment and immediately gag at the smell. Yotaka's too busy reminiscing about the 2000s to care, dragging the poor girl into her room while screaming about how that era was the best. The guy finds Yotaka at work munching on something, and he's mid-sentence asking where the hell she went when she just starts chewing louder. He tries to ask if she's supposed to be on a Warzone assignment, but she's too busy eating to acknowledge him. She stares at him with her cheeks stuffed full, and all he can manage is a bewildered, "Eh?" He's fuming after some kind of run-in with a cop, ranting about what the hell that officer was thinking while hunched over catching his breath. Turns out, public security has started noticing how big the turf war between agencies is getting, and what just happened was clearly a threat. He wonders if he's really about to drag Yotaka back into another war zone. And right on cue, someone shows up late yelling, "Yo, sorry!" The co-worker fills him in on the streets. Big shots are getting picked off left and right. Overseas contracts are flooding in, and someone's trying to turn the whole country into a war zone. Then the guy leans in close and says it'd do the world a lot of good if their target had a cardiac arrest right now. There's a long silence before the reply comes back. Bit late for that. They pass a news screen showing that KKG Holdings CEO Koji Nakajima was found dead of cardiac arrest, and the coworker gets distracted by sashimi on the screen instead. He smirks and calls cardiac arrest a convenient phrase. After all, if the heart stops, no matter how the person actually died, that's what they write. The guy just stares at the headline with a knowing look, muttering the phrase back to himself. A light-haired girl appears with a quiet, content smile, smoking a cigarette with her eyes half closed like she doesn't have a care in the world. Meanwhile, the guy's outside the smoking area at work, checking his phone, and wondering where Yotaka wandered off to. She's broke, so she can't have gone far, but the fact that she might have just gone home is somehow the most annoying possibility. Yotaka's wandering the streets making commentary about young women's bodies with zero filter, comparing everything she sees to herself with brutal honesty. Her stomach growls loud enough to interrupt her own monologue, and she decides she'll just keep running to work off the hunger. Then the scene cuts to a wallet being dropped on the ground with cash visible inside, and someone's watching from behind. She lands on top of a guy in an alley, snatching his phone mid-air after what looks like she body-slammed him from above. His phone gallery is full of creep shots, and she's scrolling through them casually while he's laid out on the ground. She wonders out loud if she should report him, noting that her back is killing her, and maybe her body really has gotten heavier. The creep lunges at her, screaming to give his phone back, but Yotaka's already holding it out of reach with the calmest expression imaginable. She tells him she's real tired of people trying to walk all over her today. and the shift in her energy is immediate. She looks him dead in the eyes and asks if he knows what she is, because after all, he really should. She dangles his phone above him, calling out that he's been earning pocket money filming upskirt videos, and the guy's face goes white. She marvels at how good smartphone cameras have gotten these days, zooming in on his panicked face and joking that close-ups look creepy. Then she snaps a photo of him and tells him to say cheese, because turnabout's fair play. Yutaka watches the creep walk away with the girl he was filming, sipping a drink with a blank expression, like she didn't just ruin a man's entire week. The scene shifts to the creep later that night, sending a message to someone named Sugawara with video files attached, asking for payment confirmation. Whatever operation he's running, Yutaka just stumbled right into the middle of it without even trying. Yutaka's bawling her eyes out, screaming about why she has to suffer like this and asking what she did to deserve it. Turns out the guy told her cardio is the fastest way to lose weight, and her goal is the smoking area near the station. Run there, and he'll be waiting. She's sobbing and cursing him for exploiting her weakness while sprinting through the city at sunset, wailing the whole way. He puts her on a scale, and the number makes him go quiet, telling her she's gained 18 kilos since her active days. She immediately covers her ears, singing, "La la la, I can't hear you," like a child, but he pushes through anyway. He says if they're bringing Nighthawk back, she needs to be at least close to her old self, and she needs the money or she's getting evicted, so there's no room to argue. He points out that everything about her body has changed since she was younger. Everything's sagging and drooping, and it's even worse because he remembers how she used to look. She snaps, asking if bullying older women is his thing and demanding he be nicer to her. He tells her to listen and face reality, but mid-sentence something on her clothes rips, and whatever seriousness the moment had just dies. She's standing there proudly declaring she got the old work gear on and demanding praise for the accomplishment. He stares at her and says she didn't put it on so much as forcibly stuff herself inside it, comparing the result to a ham wrapped in string. She asks what a ham butt is, while he wonders how she didn't notice something was wrong when she looked in the mirror. He stares at her with a dead serious expression, clearly processing the absolute state of his legendary assassin partner. She cheerfully announces it's time to change and tells him to prepare to feast his eyes on her body. From behind the door he hears her struggling and grunting, and then there's a loud crash. She couldn't get the suit off either. Yutaka's in full delusion mode now, insisting that guys love women with a little extra to grab, and that her body type is hotter than any model's. She reminds him she kicked his ass yesterday, so the job should be easy if she actually tries. He calmly asks if she can still fit into her old work gear, and she screams back with absolute confidence that she can. He agrees they should start with something easy, and she immediately gets suspicious, asking why. Her eyes narrow as she guesses he's about to say she's too fat to move like she used to, and he doesn't even flinch. He just looks at her sitting there smoking in her messy apartment and says yes. No sugarcoating, no hesitation, just a flat confirmation. He tells her he's glad she's willing to work for them again, but asks if she's really taking this seriously enough since she'll be evicted without money. She fires back that they should be showing her some respect, puffing on her cigarette with an attitude. She declares that she's a legend after all. And he mentally notes this is the same woman who was just groveling on the convenience store floor. Yutaka rattles off her dream job requirements with the biggest smile on her face. Pays a ton, barely any work, no killing, doesn't make her tired, and she just wants to stand around looking pretty with a free lunch thrown in. The guy stares at her with the most exhausted expression a human being can produce, completely dead behind the eyes. He asks if she's screwing with him, and she tells him she's dead serious, which is somehow even worse. The guy realizes who's been spreading the Nighthawk rumors, and his boss, a big man in glasses and a bow tie, says they've got no choice but to make it official. He acknowledges that Nighthawk still isn't ready and sending her out would be far too dangerous, but that's exactly why he keeps this guy around. He's counting on him to take care of it, and the weight of that responsibility lands heavy. Something violent just happened off screen, and a man named Shinoda is on the phone making a calm, businesslike call about a slight change of plans. He asks if someone named Watagi can handle an extra body for him, mentioning the name Murakamo in the same breath. His reasoning is chillingly simple. The less competition, the better. Shinoda's chatting with a colleague about clients, casually mentioning he's been taking jobs from both Watagi and Being Hope because the pay is insane. His colleague shows him something on his phone about Murakumo, and both of them note how wild things are getting in the industry. It's shaping up to be a messy situation, and Shinoda's already dreading the fallout. Shinoda bumps into an old acquaintance named Hasegawa in what turns out to be a bathroom where someone's just been killed. They greet each other like co-workers running into each other at the water cooler, apologizing for stealing his kill with a laugh. Then Hasegawa casually offers to grab the dead guy's legs, noting the target always did have a weak bladder. Just another day at the office for these two. Yotaka's having a religious experience with food, tears streaming down her face as she shoves greasy takeout into her mouth while chain-smoking. She's screaming about grease, booze, nicotine, and sweat all mixing together like a party in her mouth, unable to tell what she's even tasting anymore. She wishes she could eat like this every day, staring at a pile of discounted pork loin with pure devotion. She's at the store loading up on instant noodles, calling them a "you're gonna regret this" kind of purchase with zero intention of stopping. Her shopping list is a masterpiece of self-destruction. Discounted fried food, dessert because why not, and booze to forget reality. She declares it's time for a full-course heart attack because it's cheap and bad for her, and what more could a girl ask for? She secures the main ingredient, a piece of meat, with a satisfied look on her face, declaring it perfect. But one piece isn't enough, and she needs more supplies. So the natural next step is to watch YouTube videos and clear her gacha dailies until she feels like going outside. 3 hours pass without her getting out of bed, and she's not even slightly bothered. Yotaka opens her fridge with a mischievous grin, narrating about how sometimes adults get the sudden urge to do something sinful, meaning stuffing their bodies with absolute junk. She spots a pork loin with an expiration date of April 29th, and her phone shows it's already May 2nd. She stares at the expired meat, weighing her options in what is clearly not going to end well. Yotaka strips down and announces that her old job was being a failed gravure idol, striking a pose while explaining her photos were so bad they didn't sell at all. She says there's basically no record of her existence in that industry, which she frames as weirdly convenient. From off-screen, Takanashi slams something down and shouts, "I knew it!" She'd been trying to figure this out. Takanashi asks Yotaka if she really wants to know about her old job, and the girl enthusiastically says, "Of course she does." Yotaka pauses, closes the curtain between them, and there's a long moment of silence. She murmurs, "I see," to herself behind the curtain, and whatever she's actually thinking stays hidden from both Takanashi and the reader. The boss reveals the real plan. Nighthawk will slow down the enemy, and if they're lucky, she might even take a few of them down with her. He calls it killing 2 birds with 1 stone, or 1 hawk, and laughs at his own joke. Meanwhile, the guy sits at a restaurant, raising a beer to Nighthawk's grand return, with absolutely zero enthusiasm on his face as an extra-large order arrives. Over dinner, the boss lays out the threat. 2 groups called Watagi and Being Hope have teamed up. An old syndicate and a rising temp agency joining forces to take on Murakumo. They'll do anything to raise their stock, and naturally, they're aiming for the top dog. He explains that Nighthawk's real role isn't to win. She's meant to be a buffer, and the guy finally understands the ugly truth of the plan. The boss asks how Nighthawk's rehabilitation is coming along, and the guy hesitates before claiming things are going smoothly. The boss immediately calls him a terrible liar, then shifts to the KKG news. Nakajima's death has cut their weapons supply by 20%. All the guys KKG lent them have vanished too, and nobody knows who's behind it. Takanashi guesses Yotaka's old job and goes through a wild list. A failed porn star with a cult following, a cabaret hostess, a model with great legs. Yotaka denies each one while getting progressively drunker, and when someone suggests she could be a preschool teacher, Takanashi lands on Magical Girl before switching back to porn star. The bottom panel is just a barrage of increasingly unhinged guesses shouted into the night. Takanashi admits she has no idea what Yotaka used to do, and Yotaka plays it up declaring it's top secret and she'd have to make Takanashi disappear if she told her. Takanashi gets the feeling it wasn't a normal job, but Yotaka shuts it down, saying talking about work while drinking sucks. She demands they change the subject to something fun, leaving the mystery of her past dangling like bait. Yotaka admits she and the guy have known each other forever, which is why they ended up weirdly close. He used to be kinda cute, but that ship sailed ages ago. Takanashi asks about her junior and whether she means from high school, but Yotaka clarifies it's from her old job. She's sitting on the balcony smoking, saying a catch like her would be wasted on the likes of him, though her expression tells a slightly different story. Takanashi suggests Yotaka talk to someone instead of drowning her sorrows, like maybe her boyfriend, the tall guy with short hair and a weird eye who visits all the time. Yotaka spits out her drink and insists he's not her boyfriend, just her junior, and she's sure about it. But even as she denies it, there's a beat of silence that says more than her words do. Yotaka screams for alcohol to save her from reality, then proceeds to chug drinks in rapid succession, while Takanashi watches in quiet horror. The progression from sipping to gulping to full-on chugging plays out in 3 panels, like a speedrun of bad decisions. She emerges fully wasted, yelling about how cute and responsible and young Takanashi is with the unhinged energy of someone who's completely lost the plot. Yotaka praises Takanashi for being responsible and tells her it's normal to be pissed off about work, calling her a responsible young lady she could just eat up. But Takanashi quietly admits she's not angry. She's just scared, because she doesn't want to work but knows she can't slack off either. Yotaka catches herself mid-rant, realizing this kid is dealing with real anxieties about adulthood, and for once she doesn't have a joke ready. Takanashi reveals she walked out on her manager mid-shift because he was making her bust her ass for nothing, and Yotaka is screaming in solidarity with a beer in hand. She tells Takanashi not to let anyone push her around just because she's young, giving the worst possible advice with the most passionate delivery. Takanashi sits there quietly sipping her drink, and it's clear she somehow ended up drinking too. This hangout has gone completely off the rails. The guy identifies the man they encountered as Shinoda, better known as the Cleaner, one of the most trusted and prolific agents in the business. Taking someone like him off the board is huge news, and it means every agency in the city is about to start making moves. The target on Nighthawk's back just got a whole lot bigger, and everyone's going to be strengthening their forces against Murakumo. He shows up at Yotaka's place and finds her wrapped in a towel, still reeking from whatever disaster she got into earlier. She's chugging something while he tells her to sober up because they need to talk. He gets serious and says it's about the hitman she took down today, and the shift in tone makes it clear playtime is over. He admits that given her food poisoning and the fact she's been out of the game for years, she actually handled things pretty well. She even neutralized the target without killing him. He quietly says, "Good work, Yotaka," and she absolutely loses it, demanding he say it again closer because she can't believe he just praised her. The entire mood whiplashes from sincere to chaotic in half a second. Yotaka's savoring a bottle of wine she'd been saving for a special occasion, laughing about how long it's been since she had the good stuff. He tells her the job was ruled a success even without a formal contract, which means she's getting paid. She screams, "Kanpai!" and they toast. Her with unhinged joy, him with the resigned energy of a man who knows this celebration is going to cost him somehow. She's lounging in his bathrobe on his couch, swirling a glass of wine like she owns the place while he stares at her, wondering who said she could take his stuff. She declares she's a guest and deserves some hospitality, completely ignoring the fact that she's wearing his clothes and drinking his wine. He asks since when she even owns a bathrobe, and the answer is obviously since she stole his. He's on the phone reporting in. The hit came from Watagi and Being Hope, who caught wind of the Nighthawk rumor and sent someone to test the waters. He confirms he's already pulling data from Shinoda's phone and handed the body over to public security. The call ends with a quick "bye then" and a promise to send the full report later, all delivered with the casualness of someone filing a routine work update. Shinoda wakes up in bandages, and someone across from him calmly announces that Nighthawk has returned. Shinoda's face drops. That's one name he really didn't want to hear. The man smoking across from him lets the weight of those words hang in the air, and whatever Shinoda was expecting when he woke up, this wasn't it. The man reveals they're in a private shack he uses, not an official public security location, where they can talk without anyone listening in. He warns Shinoda to be nice or he'll be having a cardiac arrest, using the same euphemism that's been floating through the entire story. Then he cuts to the chase. Shinoda's on the blacklist. He's a dangerous man, so what was he doing passed out in an alley? Shinoda wakes up to a rise and shine from his interrogator, who explains he got an anonymous tip 3 hours ago and found Shinoda lying out cold. The man introduces himself casually. It's been a while since they last met. He greets Shinoda by name with a cigarette in his mouth and a smile that's way too friendly for someone running an interrogation. Yotaka recounts the fight. Her guts started acting up mid-battle from the food poisoning, and when the hitman kicked her in the stomach, it all came out. She explains she beat the hell out of him because he told her she stunk, which shut him up pretty quick. Now she's in a weird emotional state, saying she kind of wants to paint, and the guy just tells her to calm down. He arrives at Yotaka's apartment to find it empty. She went out, and her phone shows her name on his caller ID. He sighs, calls her, and she casually drops that a hitman just jumped her. Oh, and also her stomach was bad earlier. The disconnect between "I was just attacked by a professional killer" and her blasé delivery is staggering. Shinoda sits crouched in an alley with Yotaka standing behind him, and he warns her that if this pathetic act is some kind of mind game, it won't work on him. He calls himself a coward and says he doesn't play those kinds of tricks. But as he says he's not falling for her act, something makes him go quiet. And the silence between them is heavier than anything either one said. Shinoda studies her closely. She ejected his gun's magazine quickly. but that's about all the fight she showed. He doesn't sense any will to fight back, and wonders if this is really all Nighthawk amounts to without her claws. A shadowy figure behind him asks permission to take her, and Shinoda mutters, "Unless," before trailing off as something catches his eye. The hitman is hyperventilating, reassuring himself that everything is fine. She noticed him, but he reacted in time. His gun wasn't taken, he's not injured. He's running through a mental checklist of why he has the upper hand, while sweat pours down his face. But Yotaka just yells at him asking how long he's gonna keep staring, and the gap between his panic and her annoyance is almost funny. Yotaka spots an obanyaki stand, and her entire demeanor shifts. She orders 5 cream-filled ones from the old man running it, chatting him up like a regular. She debates whether to eat them all now or save some for later, then gets her bag of fresh pastries with a cheerful grin. For someone who just survived a hitman encounter, her priorities are remarkably food-focused. Her stomach ache vanishes, and she's immediately starving again, marveling at how you forget about pain the second it's gone. She's walking through a shopping area humming to herself when her sense of smell locks onto something, and her eyes light up like she just found buried treasure. Whatever caught her nose has her full, undivided attention. Yotaka launches into a full tantrum of demands. Buy her beer, pay her rent, clean her room, take out her trash, clear her debts, and feed her healthy food. He ignores every single one, ties his shoes, and tells her he's heading out to set up a safe house. His only instruction is simple: wait here and don't go out. Repeated twice because he clearly doesn't trust her to listen the first time. She looks at him with big eyes and quietly says, "Be nicer to me." And for a split second, there's something almost vulnerable about it. She complains that her stomach hurts and he's being cruel, asking why he's getting on her case after everything she's been through. Then she completely ruins the moment by demanding he rub her tummy and tuck her in, yelling at him to take care of her like she's 5 years old. He admits he was too naive and didn't think Murakuma would escalate this far. Yotaka's cover might already be blown, and he's cursing himself for the oversight. She casually mentions that some guy took her picture earlier, and his face goes white as he realizes the situation is worse than he thought. He tells her she needs to start paying attention to surveillance because there's no telling what's coming next, and for once, she actually seems to listen. Yotaka's doubled over, clutching her stomach from all the garbage she ate, and he throws something at her, telling her to take medicine while she groans about her guts. He tells her this is an emergency. Word spreading that Nighthawk is back in action, and it's only a matter of time before hitmen start coming for her. She asks if taking more medicine would make it work faster, completely missing the gravity of what he just said. Yotaka's already asking if taking down the hitman means she gets paid again, completely skipping past the part where she was just targeted for assassination. She tells her junior to stop worrying so much because these guys are a piece of cake, brushing off mortal danger like it's a minor inconvenience. But then he drops a name, Scarlet Bear, and says he's heard a rumor that one really bad player has joined the hunt, and suddenly the mood shifts. He tells her to stop dodging the point, and she acknowledges she knows things are already in motion, even though she likes the way things are now. A man with a gun appears behind her, delivering the cold truth that no matter how hard she tries, she can't keep things the same forever. The quiet life Yotaka's been clinging to is slipping through her fingers, whether she wants to admit it or not. She updates him on the situation. Firms are teaming up, people are getting hired left and right, and Murakumo is still pushing hard to recruit her. He offers her safe houses in case she's ever in trouble, but she's already asking if safe houses have board games because she wants to drink while playing Monopoly. He declines that idea fast, saying she gets way too intense at Monopoly, and she insists she's fine living off part-time work. The scene cuts to Yotaka's building, where she's bowing on the floor, apologizing to her landlord, swearing she really did have the money but can't pay right now. It's a complete 180 from her usual bravado. She's sniffling, promising to figure something out by next month, begging forgiveness. Meanwhile, Takanashi sits in the background on the phone, watching the whole pathetic display unfold. Yotaka's standing in the rain, tears streaming down her face as she murmurs that there are still more races to come. Takanashi calls out to her, asking where she's going, and something about Yotaka's expression is different. There's a resolve there that wasn't before. She walks off with a smile, but Takanashi's screaming after her not to do it, whatever it is. Yotaka returns with cash raining around her, standing tall and triumphant. She won at the horse races. Takanashi's on the ground in disbelief, asking how much she won, and Yotaka declares she just got lucky while trying to play it cool. She offers to treat Takanashi to dinner, insisting they call it a day, but the adrenaline still hasn't left her eyes. Yotaka introduces Takanashi to her racetrack crew. Chu, a 52-year-old man who's always smiling despite being buried in debt, and Ban, a 67-year-old woman known as the forever single horse granny. They bicker about each other's betting strategies while Yotaka explains she picked number 7 because a jockey said he was running for his dead grandpa. That detail clearly hit close to home for her. Yotaka's holding a betting slip for 50,000 yen on horse number 7, Soft Omoi, to win, and she bought it on a whim. She figured since she was there, why not get a ticket, picking her favorite number? The regulars greet her like an old friend, asking where she's been, and she tells Takanashi to wait while she goes to introduce her around. Yotaka watches the injured horse still running on the track, asking out loud why it keeps going even though it's clearly hurting. The jockey's words echo, "It hurts, but that's exactly why he wants to run. Because he's dedicating today's victory to his grandpa in heaven." Something about that determination hits Yotaka differently, and for a moment her usual mask slips. Takanashi notices Yotaka doesn't look great and asks if she wants to talk, offering to listen as her big sis. Yotaka says something kind of shocking happened. She found out 2 days ago that her grandpa passed away. Takanashi's eyes go wide, and even the horse beside them seems to react to the weight of that quiet confession. Yotaka declares that first race was just a warm-up. She's here to show the racetrack itself how dead serious she is. Takanashi asks who she's trying to prove something to, confused, but Yotaka's already moving on to the next thing. She announces, "All right, next up." And the scene cuts to a massive spread of food, because apparently proving yourself means ordering everything on the menu. She's at a barbecue restaurant ordering premium ribs and premium loin while Takanashi shyly asks for grilled veggies and rice. Takanashi notices Yotaka isn't drinking today, and Yotaka says she's got a serious battle coming up, which could mean anything with this woman. She sets down her oolong tea, looks at Takanashi with a rare softness, and asks if she wants to come with. Takanashi reminds Yotaka that today's her rent deadline, and asks if she's really blowing money on barbecue right now. Yotaka waves it off, saying she just got 300,000 yen from her last job and does the math. Rent is 58,000 a month. 3 months is about 180,000, leaving her with 120,000. Takanashi's internal monologue is just one bewildered question. What kind of work does this woman even do? Yotaka drags Takanashi to the grill and tells her to order whatever she wants, treating her like royalty. Takanashi nervously asks for a skirt steak, and Yotaka immediately upgrades it to the premium version without blinking. When Takanashi asks if it's really okay, Yotaka laughs and says, "Consider it, thanks for all her help." And for once, she actually seems like the responsible older friend she pretends to be. He scolds Yotaka for eating random food off the floor, and she asks what she is, a dog. She fires back that comparing her to a dog would be an insult to actual dogs, then demands he apologize. He says, "I'm sorry," and she escalates it further, telling him to get on his hands and knees. The power dynamic between these two is endlessly entertaining. Yotaka lets out a massive sneeze and rates it herself. Damn, that was a good one. While the guy agrees it was indeed impressive. She decides that after a sneeze that satisfying, today's gonna be a good day. They sit together smoking, and for one brief moment, it actually feels like two normal people sharing a quiet morning, instead of a legendary assassin and her handler. She's sprawled on his bed in his bathrobe, wine-drunk and slurring an invitation at him, while he begs her to just go to sleep. She mumbles that she can go all night and tries to beckon him closer, but he's already done. He tells her to put some clothes on because she's got wine all over herself, and the legendary Nighthawk is currently operating at about a 2 out of 10. The interrogator lays it out for Shinoda. Murakumo has dragged Nighthawk back into the light, and someone just tossed a massive spark into the powder keg. He asks Shinoda to lend a hand, pointing out that the cleaner probably doesn't want to die just yet. Shinoda pauses, then says he's never worked for public security before, which isn't a no. He tells Yotaka it's too dangerous to go back to her old place, and that he's secured several safe houses they'll use as bases to stay on the move. She groans about what a pain it is, clearly annoyed at losing her apartment lifestyle, and he mentally confirms she's definitely an idiot. She calls him Junior and invites him to drink with her, and he accepts, but tells her to smoke outside. He warns her that every agency's top man will be coming for her now. Guys even better than Shinoda, all of them jumping at the chance to be the one who finally brings down the legend. Feathers drift through the air around a flashback of Nighthawk in her prime, tearing through enemies in full combat gear. From here on out, he tells her, the entire industry is gearing up for a Nighthawk hunt, and this time, the prey knows it. Yotaka's at the racetrack with an earpiece buzzing. Shinoda's on the line feeding her intel about incoming threats. Junior asks if she can really fight in a crowd this packed, and she snaps back that she already said she could, so quit nagging. She's ordering a pork skewer from a food stall like nothing's wrong, and Junior mutters that at least she's motivated. Her master plan is pure Yotaka. Take them all out without anyone noticing. She knocks them down. Junior hides the bodies. Junior's face goes completely flat because that is never going to work. She starts begging with clenched fists, swearing she'll try really, really hard, like a kid negotiating extra screen time. Junior shuts it down. Backup's already called, and running into her here was actually perfect timing. Until they arrive, she needs to stay put right here. Yotaka's face crumbles because staying put means missing the Toka Prize, the once-a-year race she's been saving up for. The situation's bigger than horse racing, though. If the public found out hitmen were killing each other at racetracks, there'd be mass panic. Public security handles the cleanup, making bodies disappear like nothing happened. Junior's boss sent him to scope the place out, and that's when he found Yotaka and a group chat called Nighthawk Hunt, with 7 freelancers planning to poison her with neurotoxin. Shinoda notes through the earpiece that it'd cause quite the scene if someone walked in on them, because they're hiding in the women's bathroom. Yotaka freezes as a man in glasses and a polo shirt appears, casually tipping his cap and offering to lend a hand. The way he says Nighthawk lands like a gut punch. A young woman is slumped against the bathroom wall, heart hammering, barely able to speak. Yotaka tells her she should be able to talk now, then goes cold. How many of you are there? Every trace of the goofy racetrack gambler vanishes as she stands over the girl in silhouette. The girl lunges with a syringe, but Yotaka's already moving, grabbing her and slamming her into the tile. The attacker hits the floor, wheezing, room spinning, completely blindsided. Her last coherent thought before everything tilts. So that's what Nighthawk really is. Yotaka dodges the follow-up knife slash without breaking a sweat. The blade cuts nothing but air. The girl's fast, sure, but every swing meets empty space and the confidence is cracking in real time. The gap between a freelancer and a legend is becoming painfully, humiliatingly obvious. Yotaka tells this would-be assassin to scamper home to mommy because she's got an important race coming up. She really doesn't want to waste time messing around with some kid right now. But the girl's eyes say she's not done yet. The girl tries one last sneak attack from behind with the syringe, and Yotaka catches her wrist without even turning around. The girl's fingers go numb from the grip strength alone as the needle hangs uselessly between them. Yotaka's eyes go dark. Let's take this to the ladies' room. And the girl finally realizes she was never the hunter. Back in the stands, Chu and Ban are debating race picks like it's life or death. Numbers 3 and 6 look solid, but Chu's going big on O Castle. Yotaka already has her horse picked but calls it top secret, and her friends hype each other up for the main event. The warm-up race is just the appetizer. Chu spots Yotaka and lights up like a Christmas tree, declaring that today he absolutely cannot lose. Ban says he was moping like a lost puppy the whole time Yotaka was gone, and the old man blushes, trying to deny it. For one perfect moment, it's just friends at the track. No assassins, no neurotoxin, no kill orders. The Toka Prize is a major mid-spring event where fans pour their dreams and savings into their favorite horses, and Yotaka's scribbling notes like her life depends on it. Chu arrived late because he stopped to buy takoyaki as an offering to the track. He casually reveals he took out another loan for today, and Yotaka one-ups him by saying she already made her money back. Somewhere nearby, a group of young freelancers huddles around a phone showing Yotaka's photo. One makes a disgusting comment about her looks. Another tells him to knock it off, but the consensus is clear. They think she's just a broke part-timer in a crappy apartment. They know she likes horse racing, and the Toka Prize this weekend is their window. Marina cheerfully pulls out her signature poison and announces she uses it all the time. It works fast, it's painless, and that somehow makes her feel less guilty about killing people. The other freelancers are impressed, treating neurotoxin shopping like comparing lunch spot recommendations. They pull up Yotaka's profile. Aoi Yotaka, age 33, probably a fake name, living alone in Matsuki apartments. The legendary Nighthawk is barely getting by on part-time jobs with no fixed schedule, which actually makes her harder to track. Their plan? Blend into the racetrack crowd and take her out during the big race. A massive older man looms in the background, and the group has no idea who he is. He laughs when they talk about killing Nighthawk, telling them not to even try. One of the women says she ran into him while investigating and beat information out of him. Apparently he used to be famous or something. The meeting officially kicks off with Kanato clapping his hands together and thanking everyone for showing up. They've all talked online, but this is their first time meeting in person. This entire assassination squad was organized through DMs. With a warm smile that doesn't match his words at all, he announces the agenda. Let's discuss how they're going to kill Nighthawk. Introductions go around. Kanato, Yuya, Marina, Sarah, Takepi, and Ari, chatting like college kids at orientation, Marina apparently smells incredible, and everyone wants to know her perfume, which is Sweet Puppy, the one her favorite idol uses. The massive old man sits silently in the corner while baby assassins geek out over celebrity fragrances. 7 freelancers organized online, armed with neurotoxin, heading straight for the racetrack Yotaka refuses to miss. They've got her photo, her address, and a plan to blend into the crowd, plus one mysterious old-timer who knows exactly what they're walking into. The Toka Prize is about to become the most dangerous race of Yotaka's life, and not because of the horses. Chu tugs on Yotaka's sleeve and she covers her face, overwhelmed by something she can't quite name. He calls out to her and she snaps back, letting go of his hand. She'd been gripping it so tight she nearly ripped his sleeve. The racetrack stretches out behind them under a heavy sky. Chu asks what she'd even do if she won big, and Yotaka flounders. She doesn't know, okay? Junior chimes in asking if Chu would pay off his debts or just run away with the money. But Yotaka pushes through the awkwardness, stumbling over her words about how having Chu and Ban as friends made her notice things, like how fun horse racing is, how good food tastes when you eat with others, and finally blurts out that they mean a lot to her. Yotaka asks Chu for one last favor before they get this over with. Make it quick, because that last slap really hurt. Chu smiles warmly, holding his cheek, and asks her to tell Ban he said bye. She says his name softly, and there's a weight to this goodbye that neither of them wants to acknowledge. Junior fills in the backstory. The big man is Tadanori Nakahara, a former hitman who couldn't keep up with the younger generation and spiraled into a serious gambling addiction. He racked up debt from multiple lenders, betrayed his old comrade, and used the freelancer kids as pawns, all for the Nighthawk bounty. Junior's verdict is cold. People like him don't change, and the world would be better off without them. Yotaka looks at Chu one last time and says whatever. That man is the last one, and they'll take it from here. Junior confirms the fight's basically over and backup will arrive any minute to collect all 7. But Yotaka hesitates, mumbling that there's something about this guy she needs to explain. Junior shows up because Yotaka's comms went dead and finds her just standing there with Chu. He asks what exactly she's doing, celebrating with the enemy? Yotaka asks if the poison's already out of her system, and she says the big payout must have cured her. The recap hits like a freight train. Yotaka's old racing buddy Chu turned out to be a hitman targeting Nighthawk, and she fought back right before hitting the jackpot. 6 million yen. She's never had a payout this big, and her hands won't stop shaking. Chu's losing his mind with excitement while Yotaka screams that she's lost her big payout virginity. She stares at her betting ticket in disbelief. The trifecta and the big one, numbers 7, 2, and 9, with a 5,000 yen bet. Her hands are trembling too much to work the calculator, so Chu takes over. The phone screen reads 6,420,025 yen, and both of them just stand there stunned. Ban calls right in the middle of the chaos, and Yotaka picks up, saying she's kinda busy. She tells Ban to hold on, then starts screaming Chu's name. He's gotta see this. Chu looks confused as Yotaka tells Ban to send a pic, and hangs up. Chu comes at Yotaka with a knife, and she blocks it. The impact rattles through both of them, but neither gives ground. He tries again, and she catches his wrist, trading blows back and forth in a brutal, close-quarters exchange. She notices his movement slowing and asks if the poison is starting to take effect. The spring breeze carries wisteria petals through the air as all the horses load into their gates for the annual Toka Prize. The announcer declares the race for 3-year-old thoroughbreds is about to begin. Yotaka and Chu stand side by side in the crowd, and the words ring out. A battle with pride on the line starts now. Chu finally explains why. When he saw Yotaka's photo in the Nighthawk bounty files, he couldn't believe his old racing buddy was the legendary hitman, still using the same name. His debt had gotten so massive there was no way to ever pay it back. He admits gambling is terrifying, and he used those freelancer kids knowing they'd never beat Yotaka, hoping they'd at least create an opening for him. Yotaka says she can feel the poison a little, but of course she can. Even a small dose would kill a normal person. She's had poison resistance training though, and Chu should know better than to try something he's not used to. He smiles ruefully and says that's right. She is Nighthawk after all, and they're in the same line of work. Yotaka drags Chu's unconscious body around the corner, while bystanders assume she got some young guy drunk and took advantage of him. She scrambles to cover, claiming he's her little brother from way back who got so excited seeing her he passed out. Then something pricks her attention, a subtle sting, and her eyes narrow. Yotaka mentions she cut her hair right after she retired, and since then everything's become clearer. She started noticing things she never noticed before, like how fun horse racing is, or how good food tastes when you're with others. The racetrack buzzes with people chatting and laughing around her. Junior walks alongside Yotaka and tells her she reminds him of someone, Yuri Iwami, an actress who debuted with a pure, innocent image and recently gained acclaim for her bold acting. Yotaka has no idea who that is and asks why the hell Junior knows so much about actresses. The conversation drifts into something almost normal. They take a walk through the crowded racetrack grounds, and Junior notes that everyone gave it their all, but taking down Nighthawk just isn't that easy. He calls her strong, almost unfairly so, and then adds that she's beautiful too. Yotaka stops dead, both of them silent. Junior clicks his tongue, that range, that speed, and identifies the ringleader as Kanato Ida, a young newcomer who's been snatching contracts left and right. He warns Yotaka to proceed with extreme caution. She's barely listening though, bouncing with excitement because there are only 2 races left until the Toka prize. Yotaka cheers as Shinoda takes down another attacker. Not bad at all, Four Eyes. But somewhere nearby, Kanato watches the carnage unfold and realizes the squad he gathered wasn't nearly enough. His expression hardens as he decides he'll have to handle this himself. Yotaka spots Shinoda coughing and hacking on the ground and rushes over, playing concerned bystander, while passers-by ask if the poor man has a stomachache. She pokes fun at him. Is he clearing his throat? And he snaps back asking what that's supposed to mean. He confirms disguises are basic tradecraft, then reports 4 enemies left with still some time before the main race. Junior lays it out plain. A new agency called Kokuten is making moves to take the #1 spot from Murakumo, and their first order of business will be eliminating Nighthawk. The hitmen they'll be sending won't be pushovers either, so even ignoring Yotaka's current condition, a bodyguard is absolutely necessary. Yotaka sits there in her heart sweater, eating with Takanashi, looking like the least threatening person alive. A war's about to start, and the splash page drives it home. A lineup of menacing figures standing shoulder to shoulder under Kokuten's banner. This new agency already acquired both Watagi and Being Hope, vaulting straight into second place in the industry. The power balance that kept things stable is crumbling fast. Yotaka and Takanashi are goofing around, pinching each other's cheeks, and Yotaka insists she's the one who should be sorry. She pushes back on the bodyguard idea. Even if she gets hurt, it's still her, right? But Junior shuts it down cold. Yeah, she needs one, and that's why he already called someone in. The cover story for Yotaka's injuries is perfect in its stupidity. A few days ago she got drunk, fell over, and sprained her wrist, and it'll take 2 to 3 weeks to recover. Takanashi is dying laughing at a video of it, while Yotaka writhes on the floor yelling about her hand. Junior introduces the bodyguard as Meine Fukuhara, a pro who handles everything from hits to protection work. Takanashi asks if Yotaka's wrist is okay, genuinely worried, and then hits her with the question Yotaka dreads most. What kind of work did you say you did again? Yotaka freezes, stammers out something about doing a little bit of everything, and the moment hangs there like a held breath. Yotaka goes silent, then asks Fukuhara if there's a toilet nearby. There's one at the park, but it's kind of far. She tells Takanashi she'll catch up later and walks off alone into the dark toward a lit restroom in an empty park, murmuring to herself. The 2 of them walk home together, Yotaka groaning about how drinking 2 days in a row is brutal after 30, and she's still got alcohol in her system. Takanashi offers to let her take a bath at her place, and then asks if Yotaka's a member of the No Baths Club too. Fukuhara watches from a distance as they disappear down the street. Back at Takanashi's apartment, she says something that catches Yotaka off guard. When she looks at Yotaka, she's reminded of someone who isn't around anymore. She apologizes for getting clingy and admits that's why she wants to spill the beans about what happened last night. The mood shifts from playful to something tender and raw. Yotaka pulls out a cigarette but can't light it with her busted wrist, so Takanashi asks to join for a smoke break and offers to light it for her. The 2 of them sit in the window frame side by side, sharing the night air. It's such a small, warm gesture, and it hits harder than any fight scene. Takanashi and Yotaka bond over the absolute indignity of aging. Clothes that don't fit anymore, stomachs that can't handle what they used to. Some guy telling Yotaka she should lose weight. Takanashi declares men like that should be killed, and Yotaka's face twitches because, well, she's uniquely qualified to grant that wish. They're cackling together about their bodies betraying them. Takanashi reveals she just turned 30, and it's been a nightmare. Her skin's different, she doesn't recognize herself in the mirror. Her stomach stays flabby no matter how much she works out. Every morning she wakes up sluggish, and if she drinks, the next day is ruined. Yotaka listens quietly because she knows exactly what that feels like times 10. Takanashi pinches Yotaka's belly and calls it a snack, and Yotaka yelps that it's not that kind of snack. Takanashi fires back with a payback pinch of her own, and suddenly they're play fighting over belly fat while surrounded by Nishinari cocktails and cheap beer. Yotaka thinks to herself that drinking with this girl is way too fun. Yotaka says she'll give the free booze a pass and starts drinking, then sighs that looking at beautiful women while drinking is the best. Takanashi lights up at being called beautiful and declares Yotaka is the best snack. When you're looking at someone pretty, it makes you want to keep drinking more. The compliments flow as easy as the alcohol. Takanashi asks if Yotaka's curious about what her old job was, and Yotaka stammers out a yes. Takanashi agrees to tell her, but only if Yotaka does something for her in return. The smile on her face is playful, but there's something underneath it. Yotaka wakes up in an unfamiliar room with Takanashi cheerfully asking if she slept well, calling her Yota Cake. The room is trashed, Yotaka's in her underwear, and she has absolutely no idea what happened. Takanashi says she was really something last night, and Yotaka's brain starts short-circuiting. Yotaka tries desperately to piece together the night. She was drinking with Ban and the others, then called Junior, then nothing. She doesn't remember a single thing after that. Takanashi watches her spiral with an amused expression. The panic reaches full bloom. Yotaka looks down at herself, looks at Takanashi, and the question screams through her head. Did they? Her wrist is wrapped in bandages. It hurts like hell, and there's a girl she barely knows sleeping peacefully next to her. She can't even process which crisis to deal with first. The flashback fills in the blanks. Junior carried her home on his back while she demanded they go somewhere else for more drinks, declaring she deserves a reward for busting her ass. He told her no way, she's going home, and to please get off already because she's heavy. She was riding him piggyback through the streets like a drunk toddler. Junior's phone tells the rest of the story. Yotaka's contact name is literally Yotaka, probably drunk, and her 2 a.m. texts are a masterpiece of incoherence, from "Please I want to hear you cite" to "suck my day." He corrected her typo, told her he was coming to get her, and found her belting karaoke at the usual spot. Yotaka asks Chu if she can at least have his betting ticket since he's done, and he hands it over with a smile and an apology for trying to kill her. She shrugs it off. She's used to it, and says she guesses she can't have it all to herself. Chu watches her walk away with that same warm grin, and somehow a man who just tried to murder her still feels like family. Kanato strolls through a public space with a towel draped over his shoulders, casually offering Yotaka and Fukuhara some useful advice before they can react. He leans in close with a grin that radiates pure menace and tells them to back off. Nighthawk is his. The words hang in the air as Yotaka and Fukuhara freeze. Yotaka yells for Fuku, asking if she's seen her tank top anywhere, and starts to yank open the changing room curtain with a cheerful, "Ready or not, here I come." There's a beat of silence. Fukuhara's eyes go wide, and the manga helpfully reminds everyone to never open a changing room curtain while it's occupied. Behind the curtain is a face Yotaka clearly didn't expect. Her eye goes huge, and she spits out a single word, "You." It's Kanato, sitting there smoking with a smirk, asking how long she's going to hold that grudge just from seeing his face. He calls her a sad, lonely woman and offers some useful advice before the scene shifts. Kanato locks eyes with Yotaka in an intense close-up, and she's shaken. He heard the news that Nighthawk got a bodyguard and just had to come see who it was. He grabs Fukuhara in the changing room, clearly having ambushed her, and Yotaka's already reacting with combat reflexes as Kanato makes his move. The fashion montage hits like a fever dream. Fukuhara dresses Yotaka up in Gyaru style with sunglasses and a studded belt, then landmine style with a frilly dress and beret. Yotaka rages that the 2000s are still recent, while Fukuhara insists they step on it and blow up together. These two hitmen are having the time of their lives playing dress-up. The outfits keep coming. Modern and chic with wide-leg pants, sporty and cool in a tracksuit, and finally a Sukajan jacket look that Fukuhara declares should be criminal because of the curves stuffed into those jeans. A little kid tugs on their mom's sleeve saying they want to be just like her when they grow up. The final look is a simple white sweater and long black skirt, and the result is stunning. Fukuhara gushes about the overflowing appeal of a woman in her 30s. Yotaka stands there looking genuinely elegant, which of course Fukuhara immediately ruins by making a goofy face. She declares it's on to the next one. Fukuhara tells Yotaka to strip so they can find something to match a particular piece, suggesting a high-waist look. She mentions that Yotaka always seems like she's having fun, especially today, and asks about the friend who got her into smoking. Yotaka pauses and says maybe it's because she's with Fukuhara. Fukuhara is so happy she could die, dragging Yotaka through the store squealing over every cute thing on the rack. Yotaka doubts any of it will look good on her, but Fukuhara insists it has to look good. You'll see once you try it on. She's already requesting the changing rooms for both of them before Yotaka can protest. Fukuhara sends a photo to Junior declaring that should shut him up, and Yotaka tells her she's amazing. But then, Yotaka suggests that since Junior's footing the bill, maybe instead of clothes, they could go get food or hit the races. Fukuhara's face goes dark, and she asks if Yotaka wants to be shut up too. Junior flat out refuses to expense the clothes, but Fukuhara makes her pitch. Yotaka is walking around looking exactly like the photo every agency has of her, so wouldn't changing her appearance make her harder to recognize? As a fellow woman in her 30s, Fukuhara is more than qualified to pick outfits that suit her age. Junior asks what her game is, but there's no denying the logic. Fukuhara asks Junior to please take care of her senior, and he pauses. She called Yotaka her senior too, not just his. He catches on, and Fukuhara smiles warmly, glad he understands. Then she immediately asks if they can get pizza on the company card for all three of them. Fukuhara apologizes to Junior for all the trouble she caused today, admitting she tends to overdo things when she's around Yotaka. Junior agrees she really got carried away, and Fukuhara notes that if Yotaka took baths every day, she might have found it sooner. He thanks her for helping find Yotaka's claws. The conversation takes a turn into absurd territory. Fukuhara notices Yotaka's armpits are smooth and demands to know her routine, asking if she got laser hair removal. Yotaka stammers that she just shaves in the bath, and Junior sits there processing the fact that his colleagues are now discussing grooming habits. Then, Fukuhara asks what kind of blade she uses, and the double meaning hangs there. Junior watches the chaos unfold, wondering if he should cut Fukuhara loose before she becomes a liability. She's treating this whole assignment like a slumber party. Yotaka finds a stash of ancient gummies and expired candy from years ago, and Fukuhara tries on Yotaka's old clothes that are way too big on her. The apartment ransacking continues at full speed. Fukuhara suggests raiding Yotaka's old high school next, and Junior finally steps in. He gets that she's having fun, but she's on the clock and needs to dial it back. She apologizes and promises to be serious from now on, and he tells her to start by taking that ridiculous expression off her face. Fukuhara triumphantly holds up some old lingerie she found hidden away, declaring she knew Yotaka had something like this stashed somewhere. Yotaka protests that she probably bought those when she was younger, but Fukuhara's already shoving them at her, insisting she try them on. Junior stands in the corner, wondering how his life came to this. Yotaka digs through the mess of her apartment and pulls out a small knife, a combat scalpel she used back when she was still active, the weapon known as Nighthawk's Claws. Fukuhara geeks out because she's heard the legends about the blade that can cut through anything. This is what they've been searching for, buried under all that junk. Junior apologizes to Fukuhara for pulling her off guard duty, but they need her help finding the scalpel in Yotaka's disaster of an apartment. Fukuhara cheerfully says she doesn't mind at all, and they agree to get this over with. The mission was never about clothes or slumber parties. It was about arming a legend.